Welcome back to Spurs Speak with Kesh once again. Today, Tottenham Hotspur announced that Roberto De Zerbi will be taking over as permanent head coach slash manager of the club. And today, we're going to go through what's good about it, what's bad about it, because there's been a lot that's been spoken about what's bad about it, and would I have made that decision? Yes, no, why, who I would have got instead if not. Let's start with the positives of De Zerbi. I think there's a lot of talk about the negatives here, and there are, of course, there's reason for that, right? There are a lot of negatives, but we have to look at the positives with De Zerbi, and I'm assuming this is where Langer and Vinay made their decision on the man, but he is a good manager tactically. He is, to be honest, by identity, exactly what this club needs to take the club forward. He's got front-footed football, he's got progressive passing, he's got high pressing. He's actually what a club like Tottenham Hotspur, the size we are, the type of competitions we should be competing for, it's what we need. That's the reality of the situation in De Zerbi's tactics. And De Zerbi's tactics, while yes, they are quite attacking and it will be a shift from what we have at the moment and we've had this season, it's the right mentality to take us forward, to be honest, in terms of that footballing tactics. From a personality standpoint, he gives me the vibe of someone who's willing to put a stamp down. He will demand respect out of the players. The players who have been underperforming so massively, your Mickey van der Vans, the players who didn't really have respect for Thomas Frank, that's been reported, and to be honest, you could tell on the pitch, the players who didn't have respect for that man, I think De Zerbi, he doesn't handle that shit. He doesn't take that shit. He will make sure that every single player in that locker room is listening to him. Now, I say this about him being able to stamp his authority and get respect out of the players. I thought that about Igor Tudor. And to be fair, I think he actually did. Tudor's reign at Tottenham is one that just screams Tottenham Hotspur. He didn't bring the immediate change that was required. He didn't... There were glimpses, right? The Liverpool game, the Atletico Madrid games, both legs. I actually think we played better than Atletico across two ties. And you sort of look at that and go, it's almost there. But then you watch the Forest game and you say, where's it gone? It makes me wonder if the situation with his father was something that was found out after the game. I imagine so. Maybe it was during, potentially, but I'd be surprised, to be honest. And the fact that it ended the way it did, the same time as unfortunately his father passing away, it's a situation that screamed Tottenham Hotspur, and we're still caught in a relegation battle. So I say this with a pinch of salt, that I think De Zerbi can really get some respect out of the players, but we'll see. But the reason I think he can is the success he has shown everywhere he's been. It's not just in Italy that he's been a coach and had the success. He has done it everywhere he's been. We go to early in his career, he got Sassuolo. So they'd just come 11th. He took over the club. He led them to another 11th place finished, yes. And then he led them to two 8th place finishes. Their second highest league finishes in history. They had one season at 6th before that. That's success. That's results. He came in and made a club that probably shouldn't be playing high pressing progressive football like Sassuolo. He made them do it and he did it successfully. You move on. You've got Shakhtar Donetsk. He was only there for a year because of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. But you look at that and you say, he's a man who came in. It was probably one of the first few seasons where Shakhtar hadn't won the league the season before. They came second. He came in. He had them on track to come first in that season. Obviously was then cut short because of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. You follow that up with, obviously, his amazing spell at Brighton in terms of the performances and results on the pitch, led them to... Took over Brighton that came 9th in the Premier League a few games into the season later, but then he led them to 6th place. And to be fair, he had come into a very strong Brighton, right? Graham Potter was doing so well at the time. But he still came in and continued that. He built a relationship in that first season. Admittedly, that second season, he really struggled. And then he moves on to Marseille, where we have this whole situation happening. He's come into a time where they came 8th. They consistently finished 2nd or 3rd the seasons before. They come 8th. He comes in and bam, season after, comes 2nd. Season after that, he left in February where they were in 4th. They were pretty much fighting for 3rd. They were a few points off 3rd. and they're now sitting in third. So you look at that and you have to say, overall, his results have been quite positive in terms of that league form. But that's where it ends, and we have to start looking at the negatives of De Zerbi. The most obvious one, you look at these stints at clubs. The most this Sassuolo was 3 years. He's had, I think it was a year and a half at Brighton in the end, year and a half at Marseille. I think he might have done just under 2 years at Brighton, actually. Shakhtar, of course, out of his control. But you look at the reasons for why it didn't work out. Brighton, it was stated that it was a mismatch of opinions on transfer spend. Mate, Tottenham Hotspur will give you that and plenty more. I'm sure Vine gave him the spiel of, this is a different Tottenham Hotspur. We will be, we're going to be investing in our team. And I think that is true. You see Conor Gallagher on 200k a week and you have to think that that's definitely investing. But you also look at it and go, but is there really that much change? It's still the Lewis family running it. Can we really confidently say that there's not going to be that clash of heads between the Tottenham Hotspur board and Roberto De Zerbi? The way we're run at the moment, I don't think so. I think there will be, and I don't think we're far off it. I'd be thinking he keeps us up this season, hopefully. If he doesn't, then he's out of a job automatically, because I think that's absolutely disgusting. But he keeps us up this season. By the end of next season, he's probably clashing heads with the board. The only concern in terms of his performance, he had Benevento relegated. I would say that with a caveat. Benevento had just been promoted to Serie A. They still went out and played front-footed football. It shows that tactical identity, which if you look at my previous video on the managerial tier list at Tottenham, that's exactly what I was looking for. And I think De Zerbi has that in plenty. But where it doesn't line up, and this is before even going into the personal side, is it's not the right time for Tottenham Hotspur. It's such a unique time. If it's the end of the season, we could potentially look at this and say, okay, you've got your time to embed that style into the football. We don't have any short-term goals. We just need to go into this season and have a really good season. But right now, we're 7 games away from relegation. The way we're playing, we will be relegated. We are the worst form out of any of the bottom 5 at the moment, apart from maybe Burnley. We are in the worst run of form. We have the probably least amount of points since I think December out of anyone in the league at this point. It's not a good position to come in and be able to change that style again, complete 180. What I don't understand with Tottenham Hotspur and what we do is, why are we constantly doing these 180 shifts? I understood from Conte to Ange. That made sense. We needed a new style of play. But we had 2 years under Ange. And then he leaves. And we bring Thomas Frank in, a manager notorious for playing defensive football or tactically overly flexible football. That's not where we needed to go. And we've now left this sandwich of, honestly, if it was Ange to De Zerbi, I would actually understand it tactically a bit more. It just, what this screams is the lack of knowledge that goes into our planning processes at the moment and our executive decisions at the moment. And that is the scariest part to me, because no matter how many managers change, no matter how many players change, if that doesn't change, the club's doomed. And then we have to address, right, the biggest negative with De Zerbi is the personal side of things. Two-sided approach to that. One is Mason Greenwood, the situation there. My first instinct to this is, what do you expect a manager to do? He's come into a team where this player's there who's had these allegations, this proof against him. What else are you supposed to do as manager? Because your job at the end of the day is get this player playing and performing. You can't just come out and condemn him. But there was so much wrong in what De Zerbi did. One, he was the one who signed him. When, to be honest, Greenwood shouldn't even be anywhere near a professional football field. That player should not be near a professional football club at all. Secondly, the way he defended him wasn't just De Zerbi coming out and saying, honestly, we give a lot of slack to Arteta for the way that he defended Partey. But even in the way he did, it was almost the case of, hands clean of it, right? I have to step back from this situation. It's not involving me. What we have are the facts. Fine. De Zerbi came out and almost came out and wanted to defend Greenwood. He came out and said, no, he's been through so much of a tough time. As if we don't know, as if we didn't see the videos, if we didn't hear the videos and hear the audios. He just came out and said, it's okay. He's been through a tough time. If anything, he needs more sympathy for that. And I think that is quite disgusting. And moving away from the Greenwood situation, he has had issues everywhere he's been. He's had issues at Marseille in his time there with the board. He's had issues at Brighton with the board. Tottenham Hotspur at the moment cannot afford that. We don't have the facilities to justify us having a manager that's going to challenge the board. And you can see that by every manager who has left and said that exact same thing, that you cannot challenge the board at Tottenham Hotspur. And at the end of the day, while Daniel Levy changed, the board didn't change. Changed bits and pieces, but they didn't all change. So that attitude is still going to be at the club. And that's why it begs the question, why 5 years? Why have we signed a man who has never stayed at a club longer than 3 years, and that's his most successful reign, onto a 5-year contract? I understand it's football contracts, it's already in there. But surely this is a short-term manager that we bring in to get out of relegation and bin him off for so many reasons. And for me, the biggest of that is that we've now put ourselves in a position where we're locked in with this man through the summer. If we're not relegated, we obviously have to keep him, and we have to give him the transfers and everything like that, which I don't think is necessarily bad, because even if he is to leave, the next manager should be in a similar progressive style of play. But what the challenge for me is we've now missed out on the Julian Nagelsmanns of the world, on the Mauricio Pochettinos of the world, who want to manage at this club. But unfortunately, well, Pochettino at least wants to and can't till the summer. And we've not even given ourselves a chance of that. The Andoni and Iraolas of the world, managers who would want to be finishing their current season because we're in a rush situation. And it all stems down to why did we sign Thomas Frank as a manager? Because it's led us to this position. Igor Tudor, at the end of the day, he had to go at that point, right? It was mutual consent for a reason. It was personal situation on his end, the club situation on our end as well. And he had to go, and that's fair enough. But you just wonder, I would have taken Ryan Mason over De Zerbi till the end of the season. I was even open to Ben Davies. I know that was a rumour. I imagine a not true rumour. But I would have taken Ben Davies till the end of the season. And then, me assuming we stay up, we go out and get the Pochettinos and Nagelsmanns of the world. And Iraolas. Have the conversation at least. Why was Xavi not even considered in this? At least from reports. Xavi, as in Barcelona Xavi, not Xabi Alonso. I think Xabi Alonso is pretty locked in to go to Liverpool. But why? It just screams a decision of a club who almost don't know what's going on. And the Chuckle Brothers, as they're called, Johan Lange and Vinay Venkatesham, strike again. And it wouldn't surprise me if we're left in a position in another 12 months where we're looking for a new manager again, or at the end of next season looking for a new manager again, because Roberto De Zerbi loses it at the club. I don't see how he keeps players. I think he can get respect from the players on the field, but off the field, I feel like players are going to be asking for moves away. And to be honest, he's a downright cunt. And we can't have that at our club. Or at least bringing it in. Bad apples breed bad apples. But that's not in my control. What I can hope for from here is that De Zerbi does do well. The club need it. At least save us from relegation. What happens next season, we deal with next season. In an ideal world, I'd have a man that we can all unite behind, like a Mauricio Pochettino. The club's taken the decision that that's not going to happen, at least this season.